Hello, and welcome to the Josh Brown Podcast. With over 40 years of combined financial planning experience serving high net worth clients, we will discuss our favorite topics, concepts, and stories. Hello, and welcome back to the Josh Brown Podcast. My name is Devin Joss.
And I'm Michelle Robinson.
And today our topic for discussion is sudden wealth. So there's two different ways we've prepared to talk about sudden wealth. Mm-hmm. One is your increase in income. Mm-hmm. So you just graduated college, you are now a resident or a doctor, business owner. Maybe you didn't graduate college and you got a raise, mm-hmm. a big raise, whether you're in sales or whatever. A huge increase of income that you're not used to, that was expected or unexpected. And then the second one is inheritance. So this could be someone passed away in your family and you received real estate, investments, cash, whatever, or you got an inheritance early and got a gift while the person is still alive. So those are the two kind of discussions that we're going to talk about today. So let's start off with the increase of income. Take it away, Michelle.
So before we even start off with the increase of income, let's say pause, take a breather, and just stop for a moment. Because oftentimes when people have an influx of money and they are not sure where to go, some different behaviors can set in. But before we get to the behaviors that could set in, I would say take a pause and gather the tools that you need, the education, the trusted professionals that you need, and put the money in a high-yield savings account until you gather the resources that you need to move forward. That way you're not making impulse decisions, right? Yeah. And so that's the first thing that I would say, just pause. Because if it's an inheritance and say, for instance, it's your parent, right? You want to be able to take that opportunity to grieve if you need to grieve without making major life-changing decisions. And so it would be great just to pause for a second, put that money somewhere where it can grow some interest and earn you some interest and yield some interest in the meantime. And then when you're in the mindset to really process everything and make big major decisions, then I'll say move forward in the process, right? If it's income, of course, sudden, all of a sudden you're getting this unexpected amount of money, income, salary that you're not used to, or your business is doing well, or you just graduate from, at law school or finish your residency, and you're making all this money, and you're like, oh my God, I've never seen this amount of money before. What do I do? Right? You really need to get a trusted professional person to talk to, because that comes with taxes and other things that you want to factor in.
Yeah.
So before we take that deep dive, let's talk about the different behaviors that people can encounter during this stage with the new found wealth. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. So emotionally, let's talk about the income first, and then we can talk about the inheritance. So if you get this big old paycheck, you're probably going to have the mindset of, this is awesome, first of all, and then it could feel very overwhelming. The mixed emotions of exhilarating and overwhelming. You may want to increase your lifestyle pretty quickly. And I got this paycheck, I'm going to go out to steakhouses every night, I'm going to buy a car, buy a house, do all these impulse decisions of keeping up with the other wealthy, let's say, people. You're going to have a lot of different decisions. With a small budget, there's only so much you can do. But if you have a lot of income coming in, then man, what can I do with this money? So you could be stuck in decision paralysis, which is not the greatest place to be.
Right.
And then the last one I have here, you might have some other ones, is imposter syndrome.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, because then you're going into that identity crisis, right? So I have all this money now and my identity can change, as well as my identity can remain the same. Nothing says that your identity has to change, but then you're looking at other people that you know that's in your circle, and you're like, they don't fit my circle because I have this newfound wealth. And so now you start looking to a different social circle, and so with that your identity is changing because of the money. And so it would be, take your time and figure out who you are. The wealth doesn't have to change change who you are.
Yeah.
The wealth need to be something that you use as a resource to change your lifestyle if you want to change your lifestyle, but also to set up your future self so you can have that freedom that you would desire to have that you could never have before, right?
Yeah.
And so that's some things that I would say to do where that is concerned. But then the overspending comes into play, right? Because now I want to overspend because I can.
Because you can, yeah.
Right? But because you can overspend, or I want to buy this certain vehicle because certain people are driving it in my social circle. And so I want to, so because you can doesn't mean that you necessarily need to.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why you want to have, of course, sit down and design a comprehensive financial plan to see where you're going and what you want and how to use those resources to make sure that it's working for you the way you want it to work for you.
You kind of want to sit down and figure out your short-term, long-term goals before you let the money motivate. Because if you go out and buy a boat and you're not a boat person, then what are you doing?
Where you're docking, where you're storing it, who maintaining it.
Yeah, exactly. So the first thing on the list here is go through your net worth. So if you do make a lot of money and it was because you went to law school or to become a doctor or something, then you may likely have a lot of debts. And so that's a priority that we would definitely talk about with our clients. So net worth, what you have versus what you owe. Then secondly is the cash flow. So how much is coming in? Maybe think about after-tax dollars might be easier. So what expenses do you have and how much to save? So there's going to be the wants, needs, and saving or / paying off debt.
Exactly.
So how do we think about net worth and cash flow for...
So how we think about net worth and cash flow is, of course, the sudden wealth, right? And so with the sudden wealth, oftentimes you're going to hear some people may say, don't pay off the debt, put it into the market and invest the dollars into the market. But of course, you have to sit with a professional person so that they could run the numbers for you and see, is it worth paying off the debt? And or investment is better. And if you're in a position that you can pay off the debt, why not pay off that debt and free yourself from that debt, right? And then if you free yourself from that debt, then you have the ability now to invest more and the freedom to do other things that you may not think that you want to do, right? They have this rule of thumb where they say, oh, make sure that your expenses are 50%, right? Or 20% that you save, 30% is the money that you could do whatever you want to do with it, right? Rule of thumb doesn't fit everyone, because if you're someone who just have this influx that you've gotten now, like an inheritance, and you're in your 40s and you said, you know what, now that I've gotten this money in my 40s, or not even an inheritance, but I'm making this newfound salary, my salary increased tremendously, and I've decided that at 50 or 55 I want to retire, then 20% savings may not be the number that's calculated for you. The number may be 35%, and if you have the ability to save 35%, then yes, why not? That's why a rule of thumb doesn't work for everyone, and that's why you need to sit down with a professional person so they could design a plan based upon your best interest, your goals, and what you want to accomplish, and show you those numbers for yourself, right? So
yeah, once you meet the threshold of that sudden wealth change and making so much money, then that increases the amount of strategies that you can go about it. Because you mentioned investing, which, that would be a great thing to do. But if you meet with a financial advisor or someone that can help counsel you through that, then there's more strategies than just throwing in investments. There's different accounts that you can open. So you'd likely have an emergency fund already set up if you're a high earner. So let's say you have the emergency fund, you can open a taxable investing account. There's probably if you're self-employed, there's self-employed retirement accounts. Or if you do have a job where you're making all that money, then they might have a 401k, 403b, those types of things. And then, of course, a Roth, which you would probably be outside the threshold of that. So there's...
But then you can afford to do the backdoor Roth and pay the taxes if that's possible for you. You could do that. But then you get to... invest in a tax efficient way, right? Where now you could look at muni bonds, where you may not be able to look at that in the beginning, but now because you're in a different threshold, you could now look at a muni bond that makes it you're investing different. Plus, you have the option now to look at certain things and the way you invest and how you invest and the reason behind how you're investing. So the goal would be like, okay, am I gonna save now for education because I couldn't save for education for my kids before? Am I saving for a business opportunity? Am I saving for retirement opportunity? What am I saving for? And then now you have the ability to like put out those dollars in various ways where you could save to meet your goals. So sudden wealth give you the opportunity to do more. But of course, it's exciting. It can be a feeling of stress for some people, but if you sit with professionals, they could really guide you and show you how to really structure all of that so that you could get the best out of an inheritance or increase in income, right?
And if let's say you're making $500,000 and you've never even seen that before, we of course don't want to be the bad guys and say, oh, just put it away and don't buy anything fun. We're making a strategy for you to buy the fun stuff.
We still want you to live, right?
Like you worked very hard to earn this money.
Yes.
And so we're going to help you with a plan to buy that next like awesome car or the down payment or paying for your kids' school. So we're not being the bad guys. We're just trying to do it in the most efficient way.
Yeah, we like to collaborate with people. We like to have the discussion. We give them the option. And of course, we're here to keep you accountable, but we're not here to be like the bad guys, like Devin says, to say, oh, no, you can't get this. We're the one here to say, these are the resources that you have. These are the goals that you have designed and you want. And in order to reach it, here is the plan. And we give you different alternative and you decide which course that you want to take. So it's not like we give you one plan and said this is the plan. No, we give you alternative. You choose from the alternative, and the one that you've chosen, that's the one that you will live by because you have chosen it, right? But of course, with more dollars come tax problem, right? So we can't forget that. And so that's where we'll now say we have to show you how to withhold more so that you're not being penalized because you didn't plan for taxes. And so when tax return comes around the following year, you're not prepared to pay the taxes, or you haven't paid quarterly payments, and so now you have penalties. And so this is where we have to sit down with a professional to ensure that you're withholding the right amount. That way you are prepared for whatever the tax bill look like. It's great to make more money, but of course more money comes more responsibilities and the complexity of it as well. And so with that complexity, it's great to have a team. Like I mentioned, you want to have a great professional CPA person, a financial advisor person. You want to have estate planning, and you want to protect also. Because when you're making this type of income and say you shift your lifestyle a little bit, you want to have that protection of disability insurance, right? Life insurance policy, because if your family has now become accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and if you're no longer around, then we have to replace that income. So we are going to look through every areas, and we're going to design something based upon your goals, but we're going to do it in an efficient way and a way where you could still enjoy life. Right? We're not going to say, oh, lock it all away, don't use anything. No. So
that last part, talking about the taxes, is we're not tax professionals, but we do tax plan with the tax professional.
Exactly.
And we'd submit, if you do have that large amount of income, then it's worth hiring an advisor, hiring a CPA. That way you can give it off to them. You don't need to be under that stress of figuring out a tax return with your new income and how that works with all the different investment tools, and it's just a lot.
And if you have that big inheritance, or you're now making more money than you've ever anticipated in your lifetime, estate planning is essential, because maybe in the past a simple will, power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney may have been the best strategy for you. Now your life may have gotten a little bit more complex, and you may need to do a trust planning. And if you have real estate investment, you may need to look at different options to protect those assets and so forth. So that's why professional team, a trusted professional team, is what you want to look for when you have sudden sudden wealth. You're making income that you don't normally would have anticipated, and you have an inheritance. And so, yes, you want to have that team in place.
So that's a great strategy. We have here, lastly, is avoiding common pitfalls. So the first one I have is lifestyle creep and keeping up with others. It's easy to see your neighbor getting the new car and the pool in the backyard or whatever they're doing. They're going on vacation every month. It's easy to be like to look at your income and say, I could do that too, maybe. But you don't know what you don't know if your neighbor's in credit card debt or what their position is. So it's always good to keep yourself in check. Make sure you do have the goals and you're building towards that.
Yeah, I like to say focus on your economy. Because if you focus on your goals, your resources, then you don't have time to be busy looking at your neighbors and wondering, oh, they have this new Mercedes-Benz. Then I need to have a new Mercedes-Benz as well. No, because if you look at your income and your expenses that you have, like you mentioned earlier, right? If you have debt, right? And so the first thing that you'd want to do, especially if you have debt that is high interest debt, you'd want to pay those downs, right? And so you don't want to swap out one debt. Now you get rid of this debt, now you get another debt. So it's not a great idea to swap out one debt for the other. We're not saying debt is not bad. We're saying that you want to be able to pay your debt. And if you get rid of one debt and you're building your assets and your net worth, then we want to be able to save in the future for future major expenses and not go into debt when we need it. And so if we have that sudden increase or we have an inheritance, this is where we have to put funds aside for major purchases like home improvement, right? Or buying the next car or going on that big vacation. That's when we need to have those different buckets that we can really say, this is for this and this is for that. And I don't have to worry about going into debt and taking out a car with a high interest payment just because. And why would I need to keep up with the Joneses? I just need to focus on myself, on my lifestyle. And if I do that, then I won't go in debt, I won't be broke, and I can live the life that I want with freedom and flexibility.
The other pitfall is making large purchases quickly, which you've kind of touched on. But usually that is a new car or a new house. Have you ever seen those videos of NFL players, what their first paycheck was? And they just buy their mom a car or a house, which is great. If their sign-on bonus is millions of dollars, then okay, you can probably do that and be fine. But you want to make sure that the income will keep going, which you never know what the future is. So we like to say that debt is mortgaging the future. So just be careful with making impulse decisions.
And like you say, it's not a bad thing for them to get this sign-on bonus, but you get this sign-on bonus and you sign on and you're a rookie player, and say your first season you went on the field and play, and then all of a sudden you have an injury and you're out for a while. What happens, right? So we have to plan and not have unexpected expectations about money. So some people have unexpected expectation of money where they feel like it's going to be here forever. It's not going to be here forever if you do not use it wisely, right? And use it as you intended it to be used. And so that's what we have to remember, not to use things, not to have that unexpected thinking about money so that we use it incorrectly. So I like that you brought that up, because a sign-on bonus and being hit on the field with a head injury and be out in the first season is not what you're looking for.
That kind of runs into the next pitfall, is not having counsel. So we talked about financial advisor, an attorney for estate things, and a CPA, which I'm guessing those rookie NFL players, they probably have all of those. And so them buying the car is not a big deal. But I'm talking more about maybe doctors,
You're
lawyers.
Guessing, which is good, but we've heard many stories.
Yeah, we've heard many pitfalls of
exactly,
of this, which I'll talk about in the inheritance part.
Exactly.
But, so not having that counsel is a pitfall, because you can make decisions that may hurt the future. Or secondly is you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Which we've heard a lot.
And what you don't know is what really hurts you the most. Like
some people don't know about certain retirement accounts, or let's say like an HSA, like that's not very well known. So just different things to keep in mind.
And you touch on that, which is a good point, because with sudden wealth, sometimes some people may they may be eligible to fund a HSA in their company, but they never could before because of income wise. But with a sudden increase in pay, right, now you could fund a HSA, which is a good vehicle, funding vehicle to utilize. So that's also great to touch on. Yes.
Yeah. Then the last pitfall we have is giving away too much too fast. So if you're the new high earner in the family, you might have some friends and family asking for money.
Exactly.
Which, what do you think about that?
What I think about that, nothing wrong. Let's back this up for a second.
Yeah.
We're not saying there's anything wrong with giving and
we
give
encourage,
generously.
Yeah, we encourage
it. But of course, giving from a place where you can afford to give, not from a place where you cannot afford to give. And so when I give from a place where I'll already budget it and I have it in my budget to give, but not from a place where, oh man, if I give this, this may mean that I have to pay taxes on this to give this to somebody. That's not wise. So it's always great to have a given budget in your cash flow. And so when somebody come to you and you have to give, you give from that place. So we encourage giving, but give wisely. That's what we encourage.
Yeah. You may be to a point where you could give without thinking about it. But there is more tax implications for that afterwards. So the annual gift exclusion for 2025 is $19,000.
Right.
So you can freely give $19,000 to someone, and there'd be
to any amount of people that you want to give to.
So as many people as you want.
But of course, it's great to sit with your professionals so that you are doing it in the best way. So we're not saying giving for the tax benefit of it. You should always give from the heart and because you want to give. But also, if you're giving, it's also wise to give where you could plan for it in a way where you also get other benefits from it as well.
I think we're in conclusion, giving is great, being generous is great.
Absolutely.
We're saying if you get that sudden increase of income, that giving away too much could not be the wisest idea.
Right.
All right, so that's the increase of income. Sudden wealth from inheritance is pretty similar, but we can just discuss some stories about it. So emotions will be a little different because someone may have passed away, where that is different than increase of income, which is, it's fun and happy. But increase sudden wealth from a death, there's grief that comes along with that.
For sure.
Different emotions. You would want to honor their legacy with their money, perhaps. If it was a close family member. I don't know exactly how that works.
Well, with family members and inheritance, we like to say we don't like to tell people how to, but we encourage the conversation where we would be like, if you want to do something to honor them and have a legacy, that's fine, right? Some people may set up a foundation, right? Some people may buy a home or something or pay off their debt and change their lifestyle. So an inheritance can do a few things, right? It could change your lifestyle for the better, right? Because of course the person who leaves the inheritance behind for you and that legacy would want to change what's happening in your family line, right? So it could change your lifestyle there, which is good. So you could pay off debt that you wouldn't have been able to pay off before, and probably send your children to college if you weren't able to do that without have to worry about student loan or any form of debt, or set yourself up for a great retirement. And so it could do a few things there. Or if you weren't able to purchase a home before and you had a desire to, now you could purchase a home, right? And so it gives you a better lifestyle, and it gives you the option to do as many things as possible. And like I mentioned, some people set up a foundation, some people give in honor of the family as well, because that's what their family would have wanted, right? So that people do various things that people do with an inheritance. But of course, we always encourage, if you're in the mourning stage, pause.
Don't rush anything.
Don't rush the process. Just take your time, because you're going to have that money for the rest of your life.
So the first two, after the grieving, after the emotions, the first things you would think about is what did you inherit? That could be cash, investments. If it's from a retirement account or Roth, there could be the 10-year rules apply to that on how to take out. Real estate, did you inherit a home or land? Businesses, collectibles like coins, gold, whatever, memorabilia. So what did you inherit? And then what you were talking about is, will those things change your lifestyle? Is it a big enough sudden increase of wealth that, hey, I could quit my job? Or that, I mean, that's a whole different conversation that would for another time. But those are the questions that you'd be asking yourself.
And things that people need to remember also when it comes to inheritance. Yeah, while you may have inherited certain things, every state is a little bit different, right? So what I mean by that, there could be tax implication on what you have just inherited, right? And so, of course, that's why you want to sit with professional people. Where it sounds like we're saying this a lot, but sudden wealth come with complexity, and the complexity is not something that you could just easily chat GBT or Google and get the right answers to. You want to really sit with people who are professionals in these industries so that they could really guide you and to ensure that you avoid the pitfalls that can come with sudden wealth.
Yeah. But when you do receive that sudden wealth, just make sure to revisit your personal goals, the short term and long term, and see how that wealth could be applied to it. And then the rest of it kind of is similar to the first part of having a strategy, using that wealth to help your life, maybe your children's life, or if you do have that sudden wealth, then you could create a giving plan. So there's a bunch of different ways to go about it, as long as our number one advice would be to seek counsel, because it's just life-changing.
Yeah, and the thing that we want to remember where money is concerned, we use money to live, to grow, hold, which is your debt, to save, right, and to protect. That's the way we use money. So if you think of money as simple as that, then if you think about it along those lines, then you'll remember that it's your lifestyle, right? Most people tend to use money, the biggest part of their income or any resources that they have, they use it for their lifestyle, right? Yeah. That shouldn't be the biggest percentage of your income at all, but people tend to let it be the biggest part of their income. So you wanna focus on the goals that you have, and that's gonna determine how you really allocate those dollars to really make sure that you're meeting your goals, right? So we it sounds like we're pounding the horse here, but it's just because we've heard stories, we've seen certain things, and we thought that this would be a great topic just to bring so people can be aware of some of the pitfalls and some of the things that they really need to consider when it comes to sudden wealth and getting a big inheritance, what to do and what to think about.
Yeah. You might think it's easy to say this, let's say $1 million in inheritance. That could last you however long, or you can use it wisely. But we were at a conference recently, and they talked about this family gave their children $1 million each in inflated dollars, let's say. The first one who received it, I think they were 21, so pretty young. The first one used it all up, and it ended up not having the greatest life situation. The second one kind of did something similar but saved a little more. But the third one, he did seek counsel. He or she, they did seek counsel, and then use that money to build their own legacy.
Exactly.
And so it's not just, if I receive this wealth, I'm not gonna ruin it. Like it's entirely possible that it can be spent up.
Exactly. And $1 million today will not go far 20 years from now, right? Excuse me. So we have to consider that, right? And so the next thing that we also have to consider is that, what we receive now is not just for us. Like you mentioned, it's a legacy. So you think about the generation behind you. What do you want your children to have? And so if you don't use what you've received wisely, then what legacy are you leaving for your children and your grandchildren, children, right? Yeah. So we ought to leave a legacy behind. So that's why you need to have wise counseling. That will help you to do that.
Yeah. If that's your goal, of course. Your goal, you might not have kids. You might want to be on your deathbed with $1 in your account. But that's
true,
how.
True.
Yeah.
Or you.
But that'd be pretty poor planning if
exactly.
You had
Or probably you wanna use your money to impact the world in different ways.
Give it away.
Right. So even if you don't have children, it could be used to impact the world in different ways. So yeah.
But okay. Well, that's our episode on sudden wealth, whether it's increase with the income or a raise or inheritance. I thought that went pretty well. That was a good topic.
Yeah. Again, as we wrap up the topic, pause, take deep breaths, just go slow into the process, but gain yourself some knowledge from this and this topic here, and just seek wise counsel. That's all that I think we could leave you with. Seek wise counsel. Yeah.
Seek wise counsel. Don't make impulse decisions.
Exactly.
I'd say that's what to come out of this episode.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that was great, and we'll see you next time on the Joss Brown Podcast.
Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Joss Brown Podcast. If you'd like to see more episodes, visit our website at jossbrown.com.